Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SA Accounting Academy. Here's a short clip on one of our previous webinars. I hope that you really do enjoy it.
Good day, everyone. It's Karen and Bronwyn again. Can you believe this is our 10th session? We've only got one left to go. So today is going to be a performance management session, which I think is really, really important, especially with just the general way that world is going. I mean, I've been talking about this in a couple of my other sessions about looking at different types of reporting and different things that we're looking at. And performance management is really getting to be an important topic. Looking at public sector, performance management is most probably critical to what they're doing over and above everything else. So today is that topic with Bronwyn and myself, although me, as always, in the peanut gallery. As you'd noticed, today is a pre-recorded session, but I am here for Q&A. So it looks like we're here, but we're not here, but we are, but we're multitasking. It's one of those days, but thank you for joining us, and I am here in the comment box. So this is me, for those of you who know me, and of course this is Bronwyn, for those of you, but now if you don't know us after 10 sessions, we're a little bit concerned. But welcome if you're joining us after 10 sessions, you've got 9 other sessions to watch, and welcome to our style of doing it. For various reasons, which we aren't going to go into, we literally are both here together. We live about a kilometre away from each other. We are both vaccinated and quite okay, so you don't have to worry about us being close and in each other's company. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Bronwyn. I am right here in the wings, and you'll hear me comment and popping in and popping out. It feels a little bit like a live session in the fact that we're sharing a platform quite literally. So have fun, everyone, and we'll be back. Well, we'll carry on, and we will be giving a 10-minute break, comfort break, and we'll go from there. Okay, have fun.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Yeah, actually, while you were saying that, giving a bit of an intro. So right. So this is performance information or performance management that we're going to be talking about today. And as we go through it, I'm going to allude in some places to how this is reported on and how it impacts us as accountants and auditors working in the public sector space or outside of the public sector space. Next week's session, the last session, is on auditing in the public sector. So we're actually going to cover a little bit of this in next week's session as well. But absolutely. So the first thing I want to say is of reports that are presented in terms of public financial management and the accountability and the reporting requirements that are in place in terms of PFM. Reporting is required on, obviously, the financial reports. And as you know, having sat all these sessions with us up until this point, all of that revolves very closely around the budget process, i.e. when you're financial reporting or when you're reporting on the financial performance, position, etc. of a public sector entity, it has to be reconciled back to what was originally approved in the budget process, right? And now, in previous sessions, we've also said how critical that budgeting process is as part of the PFM cycle, because, and I will speak about budgeting a little bit as we go through today's session as well, to show you how these two things relate so closely to each other. Budgeting is done on the basis of what service delivery does the entity need to provide to the public. And that is very much based on, well, what do I say I'm going to be giving to the public? When I'm spending public funds, what am I going to be spending them on? And as a result, in an annual report that you get for most public sector entities, if it is this thick or this thick, 80% of the pages in that annual report will relate to performance information. And 10%, 20% of it at the most, the other reports and the financial statements. So really, if that gives you an idea of where do the internal control systems and where do the underlying record-keeping systems, where is the focus of that supposed to be in public sector, it very much is aligned to where they need to be spending most of their time and energy, which is in managing their performance. And so this little section today, again, sort of highlights, this is a high-level understanding of performance management in the public sector in South Africa. It is one session. I'm covering concepts that apply equally to whether it is PFMA or MFMA. The concepts of performance information and performance reporting or performance management are the same, although there are different timelines involved for each of these cycles. It's the same kind of concepts, and we're specifically talking about it in South Africa, but I'm actually going to end the session on what is PFM reform and how does this fit in, and I think that's an interesting discussion at the end. But you can see how the information that is being reported in performance management or management of performance information actually forms the bulk of what a government entity actually supposed to spend their time reporting on, all their efforts in the reporting matrix, and why it is so important at a high level that we understand this, even as accountants, where do we fit into this picture? One of the issues we have in government in South Africa is that as the systems are maturing, and they're not maturing at the rate that we would like them to be maturing, and we've got this disconnect in South Africa between really, really good laws, regulations, frameworks, etc., world class in very many ways, and the actual implementation being such an issue. One of the problems in implementation in government at the moment is that government is still battling to climb out of the silo approach that so much of management had. If you were in technical services, or if you were in healthcare, or etc., you did operationally what was required of you, but finance were the ones that used to have to keep the paperwork and the trails and the internal controls and the financial stuff, right? And there was never a really clear understanding that all of this is part of the same picture, and all the controls over the transaction have to extend to all of the issues in the public sector. So it's not just the recording of the debits and credits. And it isn't even recording the debits and credits saying was it approved in the budget and as it allocated to the correct accounts. It's extending that same transaction, the controls around that same transaction to, is it in terms of the approved budget allocation, is it in compliance with laws and regulations like supply chain management, etc., and where does it fit in to my performance management? How do I keep these records so that I'm supporting both the financial transaction as well as compliance with laws and regulations, and as evidence of the fact that I have performed a service, or I've expended money in performance of a service, and all of these things fit together. So hopefully what you'll get out of this session is that high-level overview of what performance management is, but also an understanding in terms of finance and accounting in the public sector, how these things tie together. All right. Our session objectives are as stated in the blurb for this specific session in the series. So I'm actually going to go through the contents because it's going to give you more information about how I'm going to take you through this. So we're going to start off again with just a recap, because we've done quite a few sessions with you, and we have taken you through the process right from the Constitution and what do we mean by public service, all the way through to this end of it. I'm going to pick up on where these themes have been discussed in previous sessions to onboard you onto what are we talking about with performance management, okay? So we're going to talk about the implementation of PFM again and take you back to what is PFM and how does this fit in what we're doing today. Then we're going to recap on strategic planning, because we talked about strategic planning at a high level and then a slightly more detailed level when we spoke about the PFMA cycle, laws and regulations, and then PFM more detail, and same for MFMA, laws and regulations, and MFMA more detail. So in those 4 sessions, we picked up on strategic planning in more detail. And I just want to refocus you on that specifically, because it's really the crux of what we're talking about today. Once we've done that, I'm going to just give you guidance as to of all the many different laws, regulations, frameworks, etc., that have an impact on strategic planning in government. What is the basis of this course? Because we cannot cover everything. So it really is the building blocks and its key concepts and where do they come from, so that you know where to go and explore them in more detail. And then we're going to talk about performance information and how this relates to service delivery as the starting point, right? So then now we're actually starting with content for today. We've onboarded and we'll start with the content. The importance of performance information. What is the performance management cycle? So quite a few slides for each of these things. And we're going to then go into more detail into different stages in the performance management cycle. So some of that relates to planning your performance. And then there is planning performance happens at various levels. There's long-term or medium-term strategic planning, then there's annual planning, and then there's the reporting. So we're going to go from defining strategic objectives or impacts, and we're going to talk about how you translate that into annual planning, and then how do you actually go about implementing. So how do you measure that performance, how do you manage that performance, and then onto reporting.
I hope that you enjoyed that video. For more of our webinar videos, go to www.accountingacademy.co.za. Thank you and have a lovely day.